The Fairchild Republic. A-10 Thunderbolt II, often called the Lightning Bolt II, or simply the Hog, was one of the most iconic aircraft ever flown by the US Air Force. Born in the middle of the Cold War for one specific mission, the A-10 was built to stop a Warsaw-packed invasion through a 50-kilometer corridor of lowland valleys, known as the Fulda Gap. This was the shortest route from East Germany to West Germany, a direct highway toward Frankfurt and the Rhine. If the Cold War had turned hot, this ground would have been vital, and the A-10 was designed to hold it. Under the US AirLand Battle doctrine, the A-10 was intended to fly low and close, breaking up armored formations at the front while bombers struck supply lines in the rear. That meant close air support in the truest sense, close to friendly forces, close to enemy forces, and capable of absorbing punishment while delivering extreme accuracy. To meet that demand, the A-10 was engineered around a single centerpiece, the General Electric GAU-8/A, a massive 7-barrel cannon that took up much of the aircraft's internal volume. The ammo drum typically held about 1,150 rounds of 30mm ammunition, fed by a linkless chute system that also pulled spent casings back in to prevent damage. The gun's belt system and rotating cam were driven by a hydraulic motor powered by 2 independent hydraulic systems. In fact, redundancy was the A-10's defining strength. 2 separate hydraulic systems ensured that after losing an engine or a line, the jet could still fly with powered control of pitch, roll, and yaw. If both systems failed, a manual reversion mode allowed the pilot to muscle the aircraft home, or at least reach safe airspace to eject. Even the landing gear reflected that survivability mindset. The wing gear did not fully retract, allowing a gear-up landing with only moderate damage. Protection extended everywhere it mattered. Fuel tanks were self-sealing and filled with foam to reduce the risk of explosion. The pilot sat in a titanium tub, reportedly capable of stopping armor-piercing rounds up to 23mm, and the canopy used ballistic glass to resist small arms fire and shrapnel. The A-10 also carried more chaff and flares than any other US Air Force legacy fighter, with 16 dispensers across both wings that could be triggered automatically or manually to defeat radar-guided and heat-seeking missiles. Even the engine and tail layout were deliberate. High-mounted engines and the distinctive twin tail helped mask hot exhaust from infrared seekers on the ground, and placing the gun on the centerline kept recoil from pushing the aircraft off target. That recoil was so powerful it could briefly halve the jet's forward thrust during 1 to 2 second bursts, yet the aircraft remained controllable and stable. Designed to operate from rough forward bases, the A-10 needed to be simple, rugged, and inexpensive to maintain. High engines reduced dust and debris ingestion. An onboard APU allowed the aircraft to start and power systems without specialized ground equipment. Even the gun's immense exhaust required fixes after an early airframe was lost in 1978. A gas scoop was added, the propellant mix was changed, a canopy washer installed, and circuitry introduced to force continuous ignition while firing to instantly relight a flamed-out engine. Midway question for you: in a modern battlefield, should close air support come from a dedicated platform built to take hits, or from multi-role jets that strike fast and stay hidden? Share your take in the comments and tell us why. The A-10's ammunition mix included depleted uranium penetrators, chosen for density and armor penetration, though their use remained controversial, with war-torn regions blaming them for elevated cancer rates. For decades, the aircraft's future was the subject of repeated retirement debates. Comparisons with platforms like the F-16 and F-35 reflected shifting priorities. While the A-10 and F-16 could carry similar external loads, heavy ordnance reduced the F-16's speed and flexibility, and the F-35 emphasized stealth and sensors over visible firepower. Designed in different eras for different doctrines, these aircraft reflected changing views of air power. The A-10 ultimately found its most enduring combat role in Iraq and Afghanistan, where threat levels were relatively low, and its persistence, visibility, and accuracy forged a deep bond with troops on the ground. The aircraft soldiers could see and trust overhead. Close air support has always evolved. In World War II, within 24 hours of D-Day, emergency landing strips sprang up off the beaches to extend fighter-bomber range and blunt a German counterattack. As front lines shifted, some airfields became depots or bomber bases, while others faded back into farmland. The A-10 was a product of that long evolution, purpose-built, brutally effective, and remarkably hard to kill an aircraft that defined an era of close air support. Subscribe for more deep dives into the technology and tactics behind history's most influential machines. In an age of denser threats and smarter weapons, the question remains for the future of close air support. Will it be about taking a punch or never being seen at all?